Hello and welcome back to my Dallas Cowboys blog. I am going to be reviewing my article that was in cowboysnation.com. Tyrone Crawford leads the list of active defensive ends, while Demarcus Lawrence not far behind. The defensive end position and the defensive tackle position are deeply related, with many players crossing between them. These are the players currently listed on Dallas's roster as defensive ends. While Ben Bass and Tyrone Crawford are expected to play many snaps inside, Martez Wilson is just as likely to see snaps at linebacker. There is the least amount of separation between the best and the worst player at defensive end, as compared to the other positions on the roster. Ben Bass, 6'5", 294 pounds, third year in the NFL out of Texas A&M. Ben Bass is another in a recent line of alliteratively named Texas A&M defensive linemen. He went undrafted, but got invited to Dallas as an undrafted free agent. He was cut out of training camp in 2012 and placed on the practice squad. Kenyon Coleman suffered an injury on November 13th, 2012, and then Bass was put on the active roster. He suffered an ankle injury on December 1st and was put on injured reserve. Bass looked like an emerging player in 2013 training camp. Many injuries led to him practicing with the number ones, where he played fairly well. He was generating positive buzz and expectations, but then he suffered his own injury. Now, there's more competition at his spot, and it's unclear if he can beat out all the newcomers. He's fast for his size, and his size is enormous. He's the only comfortable 300-pound defensive end on the roster. His best bet will come when opponent. He may very well play the whole year at one tech, but right now Dallas is mixing and matching their defensive linemen, and he is listed as a defensive end. Tyrone Crawford, defensive end, 6'4", 284 pounds, 24, also third year in the NFL from Boise State. When Dallas throws the kitchen sink at a position, you can bet they will take a player near the top of the draft and players far below. Tyrone Crawford came to Dallas the same offseason as Ben Bass did. Tyrone Crawford had shown more explosive speed than Bass, and that's what got him drafted. Considering the year both players were acquired, each player must have been seen as 5-techs. Thankfully for Dallas, Crawford is an even better defensive end as a pass rusher prospect than he is a 5-tech. Crawford played all of 2012, recording 20 tackles. Like Bass, Crawford suffered an injury in the 2013 training camp and was unable to fulfill the positive buzz that the player had generated. Ben Gardner, defensive end, 6'4", 262 pounds, 23, rookie from Stanford. Circumstances may change Dallas's behavior, but considering how little players like Tyrone Crawford see the field as rookies, what hope does Ben Gardner have? However, any illusion that Dallas has depth is gone, so they may play rookies in greater abundance. In theory, a defensive lineman has some of the simplest responsibilities possible in Rod Marinelli's scheme. Gardner has done all he can to look good in OTAs and minicamp. When Ben Gardner was drafted, he was listed as a defensive tackle, so he joins the list of inside-outside defensive line players. Dallas's offensive line is very stout. Rookie defensive linemen need to identify patsies on the offensive line, a player they can match up against that makes them look good. Even against the number twos, now populated by NFL veterans, the rookie defensive lineman will have problems. Gardner is noted for his persistence and his quickness. He doesn't possess long arms at 30 3/4 inch to knock away blocks, which may be less of an issue on the inside. Considering the numbers at the position, Gardner has an uphill fight ahead. His 39-inch vertical leap, 10-foot, 1-inch broad jump, and a reported 6.78-second 3-cone drill suggest Ben Gardner is an explosive athlete with tremendous speed and power. Demarcus Lawrence, defensive end, 6'3", 251 pounds, 22, rookie from Boise State. Demarcus Lawrence is said to come to Dallas with enormous pressure, but really that pressure is on the coaching staff. If he struggles, fans will cut him slack because he's a rookie and a second-round pick. The anger at the staff who gambled on a rookie like so will be more severe. He is a superior athlete who should do well in the NFL, whatever happens in 2014. He weighs 251 pounds now and is expected to weigh 15 to 20 pounds more in the future. He has a kind of swagger that has been rare in Dallas. He was a JUCO player who clawed his way to big-time NCAA competition. Jeremy Mincey, 6'4", 265 pounds, 30 years of age, 7 years in the NFL from the University of Florida. Jeremy Mincey was drafted by New England in 2006 in the 6th round. He found a home in Jacksonville from 2006 to 2013. His best season came in a contract year, 2011, when he posted 8 sacks. He has a lot of NFL experience compared to other players on this roster. He played a supporting role on some good Jacksonville teams back in 2007 and 2008. His ceiling is not very high when compared to Demarcus Lawrence, but he's expected to bring a certain level of play to the field with little preparatory work. Caesar Rayford, 6'7", 267 pounds, 28, 1 year of NFL experience, Washington. How does Caesar Rayford stick while Everett Brown is cut? Brown had important sacks at the end of games in 2013, while Rayford flashed in preseason playing in a 3-4 in Indianapolis, not even Dallas. Caesar Rayford has carved a difficult path to the NFL. Undrafted out of Washington, he was an undrafted free agent in Detroit. He was cut in June of 2009, having had a single season in the NFL. He collected 5 tackles. He was then signed by the BC Lions in 2009, then moved on to the Utah Blaze from 2010 to 13. Then he made an appearance in the Colts training camp before being shipped to Dallas. Caesar Rayford has simply monstrous size. There are very few players who can play his position at 6'7". In his highlights from the Indy preseason, he's long and gangly, grabs quarterbacks from around the offensive tackles. He also deflects passes. He's played 147 snaps on the active roster in 2013, but was sent down to the practice squad November 14th. At age 28, Dallas can only be seeking a rare late career bloomer. This training camp is more important to his career than perhaps any other player here listed. George Selvie, 6'4", 270 pounds, 27, 5th year NFL, South Florida. George Selvie's career is one of the most established among Dallas at the defensive end. George Selvie is Dallas's most established defensive end. He too has trudged a difficult road in the NFL. 3 out of 4 years in college, Selvie collected 3.5 and 5.5 sacks. He had one beautiful sophomore season where he collected 14.5 sacks while collecting 31.5 tackles for loss. No other season did he top 15 tackles for a loss. So to this day, fans still wonder if he can reclaim that one crazy year. He didn't combine well. Weighing 250 pounds, his short shuttle is slow at 4.6. His 3-cone is nothing like a linebacker's at 7.48. His broad jump was 9 feet. Vertical jump was 30.5 inches. He doesn't have elite speed or power. He has fairly long arms. His are 34 inches, comparable to Von Miller's. George Selvie stays in the game with excellent technique and a perseverance that shows up on tape. Selvie cannot be effective unless he's rotated liberally. Since he's not an elite athlete, he has to be opportunistic. Last year, he didn't create mismatches on the field, but he was there to take advantages of the opportunities that he was given, especially when Demarcus Ware and Jason Hatcher were both healthy. Anthony Spencer, 6'3", 262 pounds, 30, 8th year in the NFL from Purdue. Anthony Spencer is slated to return to Dallas this season. As recently as June 23rd, Calvin Watkins of ESPN.com is reporting that Spencer is slated to resume football activities in late training camp. After that, it is unknown if he'll start the year on the physically unable to perform list or not. He missed the 2013 preseason with what is said to be left knee bone bruise. After experiencing pain after his one appearance in the Kansas City game, he has had season-ending microfracture surgery. He's jogging now. Spencer had a developing problem in his left knee, but it's not been chronic. His long track record suggests a return to a healthy knee is possible. Spencer missed all of the 2013 training camp, but the coaches did not hesitate to put him in versus Kansas City when he was healthy, even without much practice before. Like a lot of players on this list, playing 13 to 30 snaps a game would suit Spencer very well in his return to the field. Martez Wilson, 252 pounds, 6'4", 25, 4th year in the NFL from Illinois. Martez Wilson left high school rated the number 2 defensive end prospect in the country. He struggled at Illinois until they moved him to linebacker, where he flourished. Wilson has many of the athletic traits Marinelli is looking for in a weak side defensive end. He's got long, 34-inch arms, good speed and good change of directions with a 4.28 short shuttle and some eyebrow-raising power numbers, like a 36-inch vertical, a 10-foot 4-inch broad jump, and 23 bench press reps. Pundits in Dallas have mentioned that Wilson pines for the linebacker role. He's played in the NFL for 3 years in New Orleans as a linebacker. He may have lost confidence in his ability to play defensive end based on his college experience. He's a raw asset, and with 4 years in the league, he needs to cash in on his capacity now. Ranking the defensive ends. After the defensive tackle review, a combined list will be called for. So, number 1, I have Anthony Spencer. We'll talk about this. Anthony Spencer, number 1. Number 2, Tyrone Crawford. Number 3, Demarcus Lawrence. Number 4, George Selvie. Number 5, Jeremy Mincey, followed by Martez Wilson, Ben Bass, Ben Gardner, and then Caesar Rayford. A healthy Anthony Spencer would obviously be the best player at the position. Crawford has had time in the weight room to hone his potential. Lawrence has vastly more potential than everyone on this list, possibly excepting Spencer. Selvie, Mincey, and Wilson have played defense in the NFL, giving them an edge. Gardner needs to show he can make plays against NFL offensive linemen in pads, unlike Lawrence. Lawrence has a golden ticket onto the active roster that none of the other defensive rookies possess. Caesar Rayford is last because he spent 3 years at the Utah Blaze. Normally players that have that much time in the sort of minor leagues of professional football have certain deficiencies that prevent them from ever advancing to the NFL. I don't know what might be holding him back. Maybe speed. Maybe it's too hard for him to keep his balance at his size. We'll find out in training camp. Hey, maybe he turns it on and he's a dynamite player. Under Marinelli, maybe it's possible that he develops into a great technician, and it was a skill he lacked before. But right now I have him last. Again, 3 years playing for the Utah Blaze is less commendable than the youth that a player like Ben Gardner brings. The average age of the listed defensive ends is 25.9. Normally, if a team had 26-year-old defensive linemen, you would think they are about to hit their prime. Dallas will take 4 or 5 defensive ends on the roster in 2014. There are players like Martez and Rayford who might suddenly flourish, and there are players like Selvie and Mincey who will give a certain level of performance that coaches can count on. For players like Lawrence and Gardner, there is also the rookie wall in December that coaches must anticipate. That's the point where the rookies are playing more football games in a single season than they have ever had in any other amateur level of football season before. If past seasons are an indication, any defensive lineman on the practice squad is a good bet to see the roster sometime during the year. Dallas may place players like Gardner there until he can replace the level of play of a veteran like Mincey. It's painful that easily the best defensive end on the roster has many doubts about 2014. Assuming Spencer is not on the roster to start the season, the 4th defensive end is Mincey. Wilson, Bass, Gardner, and Rayford all have untapped potential. Any of them who play mistake-free first, then make plays, could take the 4th spot over Mincey. Mincey and Selvie have been fighting to hang in the NFL for a long time. They've fought off rookies again and again to last this long. They won't concede their roster spots easily. Alright, say hi. I'm Nick Welp on Twitter, Austonian Aggie in the comments. Also post your own comment below on the video, on YouTube, or make your own video response and link it to mine. I'll talk to you later, and good luck out there.